Hey, welcome. So let's talk about something that's at the very heart of the modern family's finances, the two-income household. We've all been told that two incomes are better than one, right? That a second paycheck is the best way to get financially secure. But what if that's not just wrong, but the exact opposite of the truth? What if it's actually a trap? Let's get into it. So yeah, this is the big question. Does having two people earning money really make your family safer? I mean, the whole idea is that you've got a backup, a cushion, a safety net if things go wrong. But when you start to look at the data, a very different and kind of scary story emerges. For millions of families, that second paycheck hasn't bought them any peace of mind. In fact, it's made them a lot more fragile. And here's where it gets really crazy. Research has found something pretty stunning. Today, a married couple with kids is twice as likely to go bankrupt as a couple without them. Just think about that for a second. Having a child has become one of the biggest predictors of financial disaster. And listen, this isn't about people being irresponsible. We are talking about your typical, hardworking, middle-class families who are finding themselves way closer to the edge than they ever thought possible. Okay, so to really get our heads around this, let's do a little time travel. We're going to look at two families, a typical family from back in the early 1970s and a typical family from today. By putting them side by side, we're going to see exactly what's changed and figure out why having so much more money isn't making people feel any more secure. All right, let's meet our families. First up, from the 1970s, we've got Tom and Susan. Tom's the only one working, bringing home the paycheck, while Susan's at home with their two kids. Pretty standard for the time. Now let's look at their modern-day equivalents, Justin and Kimberly. They've also got two kids, but here's the huge difference. They both work full-time jobs. And here is the first big shocker. When you look at their income, Justin and Kimberly, our modern couple, are bringing in a whopping 75% more money than Tom and Susan did. And that's after you adjust for inflation. I mean, that is a massive leap in how much they're earning. So, where did all that extra cash go? I mean, really, with 75% more income, you'd think Justin and Kimberly would be rolling in it, right? Way more secure, with a ton of money for savings, vacations, whatever. But that's not what happened at all. Let's dig into their budgets and follow the money. All right, here we go. Look at that top line. Yep, Justin and Kimberly's income is way higher. But then look what happens. Their mortgage, it's way, way bigger. They need a second car now so Kimberly can get to work, so car costs basically double. And then, bam, childcare, a gigantic expense that Tom and Susan just didn't have. Throw in the extra taxes they're paying, and suddenly that whole second income just vanishes. It's gone before they even get a chance to spend it. And this is the unbelievable part. After all is said and done, after they pay for all the stuff they have to pay for just to keep both jobs going, our modern two-income family has about $800 less in their pocket at the end of the year for just living. Less than the single-income family from the 70s. They're working harder and earning more just to fall a little bit behind. It's nuts. So what's the main culprit here? What's eating up all that money? It's not what you think. It's not flat-screen TVs or expensive vacations. The biggest thing by far is this hidden bidding war that almost every parent gets sucked into. The desperate fight to buy a house in a decent school district. Real estate agents always used to say, location, location, location. Well, this quote absolutely nails the new reality. Today, it's more like schools, schools, schools. For so many parents, getting their kids a good education means they have to buy a house in a specific expensive neighborhood. And what gives them the money to get into that bidding war? Mom's second paycheck. It's the fuel for the fire. And you can see the result right here. I mean, look at this. Housing prices have just gone through the absolute roof, completely leaving salaries in the dust. Families are shelling out all this extra money, not for a mansion with a pool, but just for a ticket into a good school system. For parents, this doesn't feel like a luxury. It feels like a necessity. And it's wild how specific this is. One study found that if a school district's test scores are just 5% higher, the houses in that district cost almost $4,000 more. It's incredible. So you're not just paying your mortgage anymore. You're basically paying private school tuition, but it's hidden inside your house payment. So, that old story about how people are broke because they buy too much fancy stuff? Well, this chart just blows that idea right out of the water. Look at this. Families today are spending less of their budget on things like food and clothes than they did back then. So no, the money isn't going to fancy coffee or designer shoes. It's all being funneled into these massive, fixed bills that they have no choice but to pay every single month. And this is where the real danger of the trap becomes crystal clear. When all your money is tied up in these huge fixed costs, you have zero wiggle room. Absolutely none. So what happens when life does what life does and something goes wrong? A job loss, a medical emergency? The fallout is catastrophic because that safety net that families used to just have, well, it's not there anymore.
See, a generation ago, single-income families had this incredible built-in insurance policy, the parent who stayed at home. Economists have a name for it. They call it the added worker effect. And it's really simple. If the main earner lost their job or couldn't work, the other parent could step in, get a job, and help keep the family's head above water.
And we're not talking about just a little bit of extra cash either. On average, that new income could replace over a quarter of the money that was lost. That is a huge buffer. It was often the one thing that stood between a family getting through a tough time and complete financial ruin. But here's the crucial point. The modern two-income family, they've already played that card. That insurance policy has been cashed in. There's no one waiting on the sidelines to jump in. Both parents are already out there working, and every single penny they make is already spoken for by that giant mortgage and all those other fixed bills. The safety net, it's just gone. And this is the really painful twist. Not only is the safety net gone, but the risk has actually doubled. Think about it. 2 people working means 2 chances of a layoff, 2 chances of getting sick. The math shows that a 2-income family today is actually 2.5 times more likely to face a job loss than a single-income family was back then. More risk, less protection. Okay, I know this all sounds pretty scary, maybe a little bleak, but understanding the trap is the first and most important step to escaping it. And the good news is there are real practical things you can do to build your own safety net and start to take back control. So here's the game plan, and it's a powerful one. Step 1. Do everything you can to live on just one of your incomes, even if you both work. That's the key to keeping those big fixed costs down. Step 2. Take that entire second income and use it to build up a massive emergency fund. We're talking at least 6 months of living expenses. And step 3, you have to fight against what's called fixed cost creep. That's when you get a raise and immediately turn it into a bigger car payment or mortgage. You've got to resist that temptation. What this really comes down to is stress testing your own budget. Ask yourself the tough question, what would happen if one of us lost our job tomorrow? You have to start thinking of that second income not as essential, but as a bonus. It's for attacking debt, for saving like crazy, for things you want but can absolutely cut back on if you need to. You're basically rebuilding that financial cushion that used to be built in.
And this quote really brings it all home. Look, this isn't about judging anyone's choices, especially not working moms. It's just a cold, hard look at the economics of the situation. The choice to commit both incomes to those non-negotiable bills. It's a trade-off. Families have traded their financial flexibility and security for a spot in the middle class.
So that really just leaves one last question, one we all have to ask ourselves about our own lives. When you look at your paychecks, what is that second income really buying you? Is it buying you freedom? Is it buying you real security? Or is it just paying the price of admission to a bigger, more expensive, and much more fragile trap?